O'Reilly Chambers here, and we are about to get on with the 3 Count podcast.
I'm in fashion.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering Ring, and I'm your host Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. You should be calling me your Sherpa by now. I would hope that some of you out there are probably like, man, that's my Sherpa. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have somebody who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring today. Who is entering the ring? You can find this man at UCW. You can find this man at PWX. You can find this man at SCWA. And you can find this man at MVP. He is a worker, a promoter, a booker, a trainer, a designer, a t-shirt maker. He is one man that I hope to never get chopped by. O'Reilly Chambers.
What's up?
Yo, what's
They're
up?
they're
man?
not that bad.
My guy. I have been in the locker room at PWX upstairs, and I have heard you chop people. So I don't want to hear that it's not that bad. It is that loud.
I think me and Jay Rue are trying to have a little contest here. It's like who can do it the loudest and leave the best impression. So poor
I was
Cody
like,
Maverick.
I remember sitting downstairs, and I was a while. I'll be honest. I was across the room, and it sounded like someone got chopped right next to me, and I was like, "My God, I've only been in like one other area that has ever happened in, right?" And tell this quick story behind the scenes. It was like 1996, man. I was in Wyoming, and I got to watch Chris Benoit, right, the person we don't talk about, but he threw this chop. And I was like in the upper deck, and I felt like I was right next to him. I heard that loud. I was like, "Oh my God, I never want to get chopped by that man."
It hurts. I mean, I've been chopped by some big guys, and it's like, ow. Then you get hit by some other guys. It's like, okay, wanna try that again. Um, that's crazy.
I've had those experiences where I've had guys like chop me and then like tell me afterwards, they're like, "Man, I hope I didn't hit you that hard." I'm like, "Don't worry, you didn't."
I was at MVP one day when Jay Rue was running the free shows, and I was in one of those battle royals and stuff like that. And Jackson Hawk was in the match, and I got him in the corner, and I looked at him. He's like, "Oh shit!" And I put his hands around the rope. I went to go chop him. He's like, I was like, "You motherfucker!" So I held his hands and I chopped it. It sounded like a shotgun. I'm like, it surprised me. I'm like, "Oh shit, I did that. Did I do that?" And Harley T. Morris and Jay Rue behind me, they're like, "Oh, okay." So they came over and they start chopping the kid. I'm like, my bad. So
Bad. All right, man. But first question right off the jump, man. I just gotta ask, who is O'Reilly Chambers?
I ask myself that sometimes too. Crap. Uh so I used to work at a haunted house over where I live at Rich's Fry Farm. So I would get into my character for the scene like way too much. And back that time I was a little doing some stuff that you shouldn't be doing in your life, but that kind of got into the gimmick as well. Um so at that time I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with me in wrestling because I was also working there and getting trained and stuff like that. And I was like, I really love horror movies. I really love like the aspect of like demonic possessions and stuff like that. But then later on, I kind of like felt like taking my own mental health issues and putting it into there. It kind of seems more realistic now because I mean I suffer from bipolarness, anxiety, and all that kind of stuff. So it's like when I'm talking and doing my promos, I'm always saying I or I'll say we or him. So it's like, what the hell is he talking about? Or who's he talking to? So um God, it's like who am I? Like I ask myself that too. Like who what like by the end of the day, like who am I? Like doing the gimmick that I do, like there's so many people that does this gimmick, and it's so hard to kind of keep it separate from other people because we end up doing the same thing.
Right.
You look at Jason Gorey, the face paint that he's done over the years and stuff like that. Our gimmick kind of seem like they're copying each other, but they're not really doing it. It's just how you look at it. So I try to incorporate like a lot of like my face paint designs from like Sting, the Great Muta, the Road Warriors, and stuff like that. Demolitions, just those type of guys. I kind of like influence into my gimmick, but then it's like mostly horror stuff, and then it's my own personal issues that I deal with. So I'm trying to take everything and just put it into one. Who the hell is calling me? Ignore. Let me turn this phone off. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But you're right though in the aspect of like when you're developing your character really becomes like an extension of something that you want to showcase, right? So like even for me, I think like my comedy side, my wittiness is
Yeah.
something that I like to play off of. So like I try to amp that up to like an 11, right? But like and for you, like you said, like because I also like suffer from mental health issues, and I like to include those things in, right? So like for me, one of my favorite things about my character is that he breaks the fourth wall like
Yeah.
all the time during his promos and everything. But what makes it even cool is that like I tell people, yeah, I tell people all the time that that issue, like, because like we did a promo right one time. It was myself and Prince, and we're supposed to be tagging, and I cut the promo and I just looked at the camera, I said something, and then he was just like, "Why did you say that?" And I was like, "Yo, this actually could be a lot of fun, like running with this gag." And so like I kicked the idea to a couple other guys. It's like, dude, if we do like multi-man tag matches, like I want to do this and cut these promos, and we're gonna do it this way. And then like, and so the joke was like that I would always be talking to the camera, but they would be like, "Who are you talking to?" And be like, "Nah, don't worry about it. He always does this." So like it just seemed like he's just out of insane a little bit. But it's cool that like you said, you just included like all the things that you enjoyed, right? Like the horror aspect of it. And I feel like when you look at the wrestling world, like horror is like one of like the staples of like a good like whether it's like a good mystique character or like a good heel character, there's always some element to like some kind of thriller involved.
I mean, they try to do that stuff back in the day, like in the 70s and 80s. They try to bring that whole dark gimmick in there, and it works for certain people. But then you have other people who try to do it, and it's just like I don't believe it, And people like me, I think it's more believable because like that's really who I am. Like I'm really in the head. Uh, so uh, and being somebody who suffers from our conditions and stuff, our mental issue, it's a good thing that we're in wrestling because it's more like an escape. We can like relieve so much stress, but then sometimes with all the stress that comes with the wrestling, it just makes it worse. So it's like, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sometimes like you just find yourself like overburdened and you're just like, because like it goes into like, it and I can't imagine it for a promoter side of things, right? Because like obviously like you have your own promotion, but I know for like on the worker side, right, it's like, all right, so how's my character responding to this? How do I do this? I gotta work on this move set, I gotta work on this promo, I gotta think about what my character would do if this happens or if that happens. You're always like trying to plan A, B, and C. And sometimes like you just kind of have to let the moment breathe. But then you're like, what if they don't like what I'm trying to put out there in the world? And then you're just like, you're always worried about something. Like even though I don't know, it's funny because I've talked to other wrestlers and I've also told them too. I was like, you should never worry about like what fans think, like because somebody out there is gonna vibe with what you're putting out there. And then
mm,
ultimately, like the fans they're there to help you because they want you to be successful because they understand like what this is like, but they also know what they want to see as well. Like they don't want to see like a shitty wrestling match. They want to
yeah.
see like good characters and great work out there.
Yeah, they want to believe in that story too, and that's the thing with, like I said, when a PWX, it's myself, it's Aaron Lester and Chris Ashton. So now it's a little more easier because I have help. So I'm not like running around the building just going crazy and like, where's my beer at? Trying to calm down. So I'm doing all this stuff now. Now I can actually kind of relax and just focus on A or B. So but our PWX crowd is so great. I was just talking to Chris Ashton and the other guys about this. Like our fans, they really believe everything that's going on. You know, we captured them, even if the match is not that great. It's the story that's really pulling them in. So it's like, oh man, like this guy really hates this guy, and he's a real dick. You know, and I think what really caught our fans is the story that me and Joshua Kavad like told over the year and a half of the beginning of this PWX era. So, and that brought back the whole, Josh is the religious kind of guy and stuff like that, and I'm more, not the believer. I'm more just shut up. I'm tired of hearing about this God stuff and everything. This is the way it should be, and that really, a lot of fans agree with what I was doing because they feel that the connection with me is a lot more, and then you have people who connect with Kavad and everything. So putting your own beliefs and your own self into your gimmick really makes it better. It's better than like me saying, I'm a Russian, so I come out and I have a mask on and I speak Russian and stuff. It's not believable. It's just a gimmick. But if you put yourself into something that you believe in, then everybody else is going to believe it too.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's funny though, because like we've had Josh on the show, we've actually talked about it, and like it goes back to what you were saying, right? Like people will believe in whatever you're doing as long as you believe in what you're doing, right? Because like I know that there's certain people who try to force a character out there and people just don't vibe with it at all.
No.
But I was fortunate in it. I'm not gonna front, like being in the PWFC, and I got to learn both sides, right? And this is where like things kind of changed for me too a little bit, and it was because of PWX. So the first time that I actually showed up to PWX, I was in a military gear. I was more kind of like this like serious looking kind of dude, and like I'd been playing with the idea of being like more on the comedy side of like a mercenary, but I could tell instantly, like when I came out and I was trying to be serious, like they weren't really taking it serious. And I was like, all right, cool. I kind of know like we're going to kind of try to scrap this and try to rebuild this. Right. And so I kept playing with more comedy side. And then when I came out this last time, and like at first the crowd was kind of like, what's wrong with him? Why is he acting this way? And then like once things kind of show that, oh, he's like Deadpool. He's insane. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And then people saw the gunshot thing for the first time.
It was crazy. Like I think the first time you came, was it you and Carter against Riot City?
Yeah.
Was that the first time? Yeah. It was a good match. I was actually trying to edit that match later tonight, actually. But yeah, you can see the difference from your first time there and like, okay, that really didn't work. I see the fans didn't really get it. So now I'm doing this and I can see the reactions like, oh, okay, that's funny. So but yeah, when you do the whole two and like if the guy sells it, the fans are like, what the hell's going on? But was it Mason Martin you tried to do it too? And he's like, what are you doing?
No, it was Eric Ecton.
Oh, yeah, Ecton. I'm sorry, Ecton. But yeah, he's just looking. He's like, I'm gonna kill you. So, but yeah,
But it made it even better because like what's funny is I've been telling people about this whole idea of like this gunshot sequence, right? And I was like, if it works on little guys, right, it won't work on big guys. So I tell the story that there's bigger guns.
Yeah.
And so when I went to when I was doing the gun sequence and I was like hitting Eric was like, what is going on? I was like, and I said it too in the match. I was like, it's the gun sequence. It's, pew. And then he was like, that's when he came to hit me. And as he hit me, he went to hit me. I roll and I turned back around. I was like, pull out the big gun. And then it's wrestling. I believe that had a bazooka, and apparently the crowd did too because they ate it up. And then Eric like hit the buckle and stuff, and then from there we just went on with the rest of the match. But it's this believability that you can like put out there. I'm like, look, it's wrestling. There's people out there who believe that there's a 7-foot dead man who takes souls or opens holes and takes souls and believes that Mark Calloway is the true, real Undertaker. That
look at Shakara. I'm sorry. If the whole entire building can believe that this guy just came out with a damn remote control and he freezed everybody,
yes,
and the whole entire crowd was like following the match, like they're frozen too. It's like it's what you do. It's like how you capture stuff. I mean, we know back in the day when it first started, like wrestling was very serious. Guys would come out and just hit somebody for real. but now it's more entertainment, and it's trying to capture the imaginations now. So we got to do what we got to do in order to do that.
And
But
then you see
throw in
people
some,
vibe with it.
yeah, but we still got to throw some realism into it too. So
Right.
when I bite somebody's forehead, I'm really biting that person, even if they don't like it.
Yeah, I have
So,
definitely seen. Yeah, I could definitely feel where the crowd was coming from. But I'm curious, man. Like, how did you get into the sport?
okay. So I was born in McKeesport, actually. My grandmother lived in McKeesport, and my mother was like really young. She was like going on 15 years old. My dad was young too, and my grandmother pretty much raised me for the first couple 4 or 5 years. So she actually took me to a WWF show in Pittsburgh, and we were like way up. And I'm like, when the show started, I couldn't really see anything because we were so high up. But it's just like watching the people around me, and then like the sounds and just the atmosphere. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And then when me and my mother and my brothers and sister, we moved to Fayette County, which is down where I'm at now, we finally got TV, we got cable and stuff. And we started watching NWA, and then into WCW. And I'm sitting there every time it was on, just watching it. And I didn't really get into it until Sting. So when I saw him come out, I'm like, I'm just glued and like just watching how he worked and how he talked and just the character. I'm like, wow. So I would like run around, like paint my face up, just doing the sounds and everything. So growing up in high school, I ran to a few people that I knew that were doing the backyard, and I didn't really know what it was. And some of them guys was like, Jesse Skelton and Dave Snyder, who used to work with UCW back in the day. So we just start doing whole backyard wrestling stuff like that. And then we had our own little thing going on, and it sucked because we didn't do it on mattresses. We actually did it on the ground, and it hurt. But we try to do it to where it was more like TV. Like we try to follow what they were doing instead of just doing what a lot of backyarders are doing now, where they're jumping off the damn buildings through like these little pieces of plywood and breaking their bodies.
Right.
So later on, we one of our friends knew another friend whose cousin or something. I can't remember exactly what. But that's how we got introduced to the UCW part of backyard. Chris Ashton and all those guys. And we showed up one day, and it was like July, and it started hailing. And I came out, and I had these like leather pants on, this like black shirt with flames and shit. My eyes were all painted up. It was weird, and they were like, "What the fuck?" But getting into that, we finally got a chance to get a ring, and we start doing shows and stuff like that. And one of our friends knew Brian O, who worked with PWX back in the day. So we got trained by him. It was grueling. I think the reason why UCW in the back in the day got so much shit is because a lot of us didn't go to schools to get trained. We had this ring. Brian was training us and stuff like that. And in order to pay for the training, we were going to basically do setup, tear down, shares, flyer, just basically what you would do when you're first starting out. It just wasn't no money involved. And then for some reason, later on, it didn't follow through what he was supposed to do. So got my training with Brian O, along with Captain Bender, Chris Stashin as well. Like I said, Dave Snyder, Jesse Skelton, Sugar Steve Flash as well. And some of us, me, George, and Justin, were the three that actually went out and got bookings. Well, Justin and George got bookings with Brian. I came in later on. But like my very first match was for XWE by Damian Lee. I'm not sure if you know who that is, or Gary Ravencroft.
No, names.
Avoid the name and avoid the person. Very, very bad. But we got a chance to work for his company down West Virginia. I think it was like 2006, I think. And my very first match was against Sergeant Cody McGraw. He was actually in the military. He came out in his actual, Army fatigue and stuff like that. We had a really good match. And in the back, he's like, well, damn, that was like fun. I was like, yeah, it was great. He's like, well, how long you been wrestling? I was like, well, this is like my first match. He's like, oh, well, I own this federation, down here. Are you free next Saturday? I'm like, yeah, I'm free. So from then on, I was like wrestling every single weekend for like the first couple of years. And then UCW got picked up on the independent scene. So I started working with them. And then I just, really try to do the best I can, improving myself, learning from everybody that I was on shows with and stuff like that. I would show up early and just watch everybody in the ring and kind of like see what they're doing. And then later on, we'd get in the ring. Hey, can you show me how you did that? Because that looks really interesting. So,
I like that though.
Yeah, because my grandmother is the reason why I got into professional wrestling. If it wasn't for my gram, I don't think, seriously, I think I would be either dead or in jail.
I think it's crazy because like when you think about life and in a way like you get introduced to stuff. Shout outs to all the moms, the aunts, and the grandmothers who get us into wrestling because
definitely
that's usually what it is. I know Chaz's grandmother was the reason why he got into wrestling. My aunt was the reason I got into wrestling.
Awesome.
It's always the females that get us into wrestling.
Yeah, it's like oh, a friend of a friend. No, it's actually like the actual matriarch of the family or whatever. It's my grandmother. Like she really loved wrestling too. Like, but she used to watch the older wrestling, and she's like big on it. She came to only one of my shows, and I think the show that she came to was when I actually wrestled James Ellsworth. Back then, he was Jimmy's Dream. It was for UCW. He was the cruiserweight champion, and I believe I was the no limits champion. And I actually beat him that night to have both belts. And that was her first and only time she ever went to a show, because then she got pretty much like really sick later on and stuff. So,
damn. Well, that's cool though. So you've been around for a little while, and I'm sure you've had your fair share of these. So I need to know, what's your worst bump you've taken?
The worst bump. I was wrestling for, like I said, I before UCW would come into play, I wrestled for Cody Pro. That was ran by Cody McGraw. I was wrestling a three-way dance with can't remember the one guy's name, but the other guy's name was Killer Corbin. He was doing like a Mortal Kombat kind of gimmick. And he's like, okay, well, hey, I'm going to go for a power bomb. I'm like, oh, shit. So it gets me. He's a pretty big guy. But he picks me up, and I'm expecting a power bomb. But I realize that when I'm in the air, I'm over his shoulder, like a backbreaker. And he has his hands locked. And I'm looking. I'm like, what's going on? And he picks me up and drives me straight down. I hit my head, and my body falls over top of me. And I was like literally knocked out for like a minute and a half. So I'm knocked out, and I finally come to, and I'm kind of like not sure where I'm at, and the match is still going on. And I'm like, okay. So I finally got myself up and then finished the match and everything. And I went in the back. He's like, hey, what happened? I'm like, you dropped me on my head. He's like, oh. And then it just walked off. So that part was like the worst bump I ever took. One was like almost like get my neck broke.
Damn. Like, no, thank you. Well, going from getting the worst bumps, I'm just kind of curious, like, what's the hardest you've been hit?
Hardest I've been hit. That would definitely be Beastman. It was a combination too. What happened was we were wrestling at Fight Society. This is after PWX closed their doors, and Quinn Magnum took over the booking, and he brought Fight Society to McKeesport. So later on the road, me and Wes were in the gauntlet match. He defeated Happy Hour and Chief Thunderbear, and I was next. So I'm in the corner. I get thrown into the corner, and I don't know if I hit too hard or if the turnbuckle slid. I just know something hit me into my back, and my whole entire side was just hurting. So I didn't get a chance to move. And I said, no, here comes Wes, full speed, just fucking crushes me in the corner. And I felt something crack. So I'm coming out, and I fall to my knee, and I can't breathe. And I'm like looking, I was like, can't breathe. So he throws me down and he just like, stay there. And just fucking stomps me right on the fucking my ribs. I'm like, yep, something's definitely cracked now. So 15 years, I think that's the worst I've ever got hit. Was just getting splashed into corn by a 400-pound man and then getting stomped by a 400-pound man.
Yeah. So he wasn't quite 400 when he did his cannonball on me. So yeah, I can relate. I can
Yeah,
relate. I love Beastman, by the way. Like full
I
transparency.
love his new gimmick. I love the new outfit. I'm like, that's
Oh yeah.
way better than what he had before. It's just like, yeah, that's definitely evolving your character, dude. I mean, that's great.
Yo.
But still, Cannonball, that's just crazy. It's like, there he comes. Fuck. All right, I'm still alive. I'm still good. Okay.
Yep. And he's and just like sitting back having a conversation, like I'm like, yeah, all of that husk, man. That was definitely that's what happened.
Well, I first met him years ago when he came to UCW, but he was Bulldozer back then.
Mm.
The fans in Uniontown fucking hated him. They're like, I thought he was gonna get stabbed one night. I was like, they hated his ass because back then Jesse Skelton, he was like the face of the company, and the fans just he could do no wrong. I mean, even if he tried to be the bad guy, they still loved him. So whenever he would work Jesse, it's just like you knew the fans were going to be at that night. They're like all Jesse. And they hated Bulldozer, but like him going from that to what he is now, I think is a great improvement. And he's getting all these, this work everywhere. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah, definitely. I am too. I'm curious, man, whenever you're done with like a match or like a show or whatever it may be, what's that post-match meal, post-match snack that you have to have?
Well, of course, I'll have my Monster in the morning, or a Nas. So that's my wake myself up in the morning kind of drink. Probably, if I remember to eat, I'll eat something. Maybe some oatmeal or in the morning or something like that, or an apple or some bananas and stuff like that, or peanuts or something like that. Nothing major. Like I don't really eat that much during show days and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm kind of a dude, like everybody's been laughing. So when I was at PWX last time, I had a bag of gummy bears with me, and people were asking, they're like, why do you have gummy bears? I'm like, listen, I'm superstitious. I had a great match with Beastman one day, and I had a bunch of gummy bears, and I had an okay match the next time that I had a match. Didn't have any gummy bears. Then I had another great match after I had gummy bears. So I've just been rocking gummy bears. Like they're always on me. They're always in a bag. They're always somewhere they're either in my gear bag or in my travel bag. And yeah, people know every single time. Like I was at a show and one of my friends came up to me and he was like, hey man, can I get some gummy bears? And I was like, how you know I got them? He's like, because we know that you have them. And I was like, it's not fair, but yes, here.
Yeah, I'll see people like eat like tuna out of that little tuna pouch. They'll bring their own mayonnaise and mix it up and eat that way. Then I'll see guys who are, before the show even starts, they're downstairs grabbing hot dogs and popcorn and pizza. I'm like, you got to wrestle like next. Oh no, I'm like, it's not healthy to eat that way,
Yeah.
especially if you're gonna be like running around nonstop. You're gonna be puking everywhere. So yeah, I try to eat light. Like I had some health issues with my kidneys and stuff like that. It runs in the family. And I'll get kidney stones like crazy, or I get like mad kidney infections. But then it seems like no matter what I was do, like I tried to avoid certain things that would cause that issue. I was just still having. And I found out that like it actually runs in the family that we produce more calcium, I guess, than most people, or something. I don't know, medical stuff. I just don't understand it. But my health is a lot better now. I mean, I took time off from PWX when I lost to Kavad in October in the casket match. So I wanted to sit back and just get more healthier, get more in shape, go to the gym every single time I get a chance to, which is like 3 times a day. So I feel healthier. I feel better. So now I'm just trying to watch what I eat and stuff like that. Now that PWX has Brian Anthony back as the head trainer for PWX, learning from him what to do when it comes to workout, eating right, and stuff like that. It really helps a lot too.
Yeah, yeah, and people don't realize like as you get older, like your health really becomes a factor. Like you really have to think about like how many times do I want to lift a week? How often or like how long, how intense? Then you got to realize that you still have shows and you're training all the time. So it's like you have to be mindful. Plus, then also like, do you want to have the steak today or are you gonna have chicken? Both are
Yeah.
good for you for protein, but one's gonna sit a little better than the other one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I just turned 39, so it's like I really kind of want to watch what I'm doing because I want to try at least get like another maybe 2 years out of this before
Mm.
I'm done. So I mean, I've done a lot in the last 15 years, but I think I can do a little more and I can have some good more matches and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to March 5th at PWX with me and TJ. So I'm really looking forward to that match.
Yeah, that's gonna be a massive. I can't wait to see that outcome. I know, unfortunately, like I won't be there because I know, like, well, one when this episode comes out, I'll have already debuted at EWA, so I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, it's gonna be kind of crazy. And then after that, I think actually I've like made sure like I put everything in like trying to get everything scheduled out. That's like I think that's one thing like we don't we don't talk about a lot. It's like usually when you're trying to get like dates and stuff like that, like just reaching out to promoters and like you get a whole bunch of dates that you can get lined up so that way your calendar stays full. And it's like it's one of those things that I'm starting to learn kind of like in a rough end because like sometimes somebody will be like, hey, we want to bring on this show, and you're already booked for that show, and you're
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, man, like I've already committed to this spot. And it's tough because you can tell like when promoters, and you've probably ran into this, but when you want to use somebody and you want to use them like continuously or bring them on for a bunch of stories, and then like they're like, yeah, sorry, I can't make that date because I'm gonna be here this day, and you're like,
Yeah. Especially
sorry.
those people who are getting over the fans, whether it's like a good way or a bad way. It's like pure ignorance, man. The crowd, PWX hate them, but they're so damn good. Like Prince and Evan, I love those guys. Those are just great guys, and their work with Riot City is just phenomenal too. So I mean, I wish we could use them every single damn show, but I know they're so in demand right now and everything too. I know a lot of people they'll try to do double shots, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. It's like shit. I'm like 2 hours away, and I'm supposed to wrestle first, so I'll leave right after. Then I'll head to this place, but then like that first place that you work at, like, oh hey, we can't start till like a half hour later. So then there's no way you can make that second booking. So it's you got to pick and choose which one you think is going to be more um, beneficial for you. Whether it's money wise or uh, match wise, I guess.
Yeah, and it's always tough because you're always like, you want to work with everybody, right? But the unfortunate side thing is, like you said, like you end up like you want to hot shot something, you want to double shot something really quick because you want to try to like please everybody. But
Mm-hmm.
man, it's like once you start building up and stuff, then people like start following you. Pure Ignorance is a perfect example. Like I watch those guys and I see their schedule and I'm just like, yeah, I don't envy you right now. And I know like Prince is always like, yo, I gotta go here, I gotta go there. I'm like, bet. Well, I'm going to this spot and I'm going to that spot. So, there are times where we can ride together, there are times where we can't. But I see like all the work that him and Chaz are putting in. That's just
Oh yeah.
like, dang, dude. Like I love watching those two like flourish as much as they're doing.
Oh yeah. Um, Hopefully, I'll get a chance to work either Prince or Chaz, or work with them. Um, there's just great guys and everything. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to work at some point too. That should be pretty fun.
Oh yeah. I would love to be able to shoot a mystic being. That'd be awesome. Yeah, all right. So I'm curious though, man. Like, what's been one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn in wrestling?
One of the hardest lessons to learn in wrestling. Uh, Nothing really. Nothing stays the same, or you'll know, like, you'll guaranteed something's gonna happen, and then you do this big build up, and then all of a sudden, like, hey, we can't do that no more. So it's like you got to learn to like go with the flow. I can answer it that way. Um, Wrestling is just like life, man. It sucks, but it's great. Then it's like it'll put you to your knees, but it'll give you such a rush and everything too. Like that makes sense, I think.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know anybody else watching this, but it makes a lot of sense to me. I totally get it. Because it's funny because you mentioned that you're turning 39, and I'm actually turning 37 this year.
Ah,
And yeah, I can definitely relate to the whole life will beat you to the ground. Wrestling will beat you to the ground, but it'll also give you like so much cool shit to talk about and do that you're like, you know what? Like that bad time sucked, but this is so much cooler than what that
mm,
was.
oh,
So
definitely.
I'm curious, man, like what kind of advice would you give to up and coming wrestlers?
Um, so I would say if you are breaking into the business, you're looking to get trained. The first thing you should do is when you come into the building, is shut your fucking mouth. Listen to what's being said to you. Never speak unless you're asked, "Well, what's your opinion?" I've seen so many guys that came into PWX training, and they were just automatically, "Well, hey, I want to do this with my gimmick." We haven't had fucking class yet. We don't even know if this is for you, if you can do this or not. You know, don't be so eager to rush into something. Learn first before you get a chance to really put that input in there. um, I think a lot of people nowadays they are wanting to do this because they think it's fun and that it's a quick way to get famous and get paid, and it's not. I mean, it takes time to do this. You know, some and that's the thing. Like people who are athletic, who went to school and was football players, wrestlers, and so on. It's easy for them to kind of adapt to this because it's something they already learn how to do. The motion stuff. But people who just come off the street, it's harder because you don't have the athletic ability in your body. So but coming into the business is just focus on what you're told to do. If you're told to come into the building and do these bumps and these drills, just do that. Better yourself. Don't worry about what's going on behind you, match wise and bookings and shows and stuff like that. That comes later on. Don't worry about, well, how much am I going to get paid when I'm done training? Don't worry about that. Just come in and just focus on the ring work that you need to be done. And that's a problem. I really believe like a lot now. I just had this conversation with Brian Anthony. There's a lot of people that just are doing this just to try to get famous and get some money. And there's no dedication. There's no respect for the business. There's no a very lack of knowledge. They think, oh well, this is easy. No, it's not. When we're doing our bumps and stuff like that, a back bump's pretty easy because you're just falling your back. The hard bump is the flip one. And everybody's like, they're in their head because they're afraid that they're going to jump and they're going to land on their neck.
Yep.
Yeah, you will. You're going to. Guarantee you're going to land on your neck. But once you learn how not to do that, then you're good. But also there's so much that goes into to becoming a wrestler and learning this craft and stuff like that. But people want to try to skip it. They want to go the head of the line. And you can tell when somebody walks into a training school if that person really has the respect and understanding, or they're just here to try to be, famous and look cool. So, like, my thing is just show up, shut up, do what you're told, and go home, come back and do it again.
Yeah, it's a lesson that like on this podcast, like a lot of people like tell you, and it's because it's true. Like you want to just get in. Like the one thing I hear all the time is you have two ears, two eyes, and one mouth. So one of those things should stay shut while the rest of them stay open, and it shouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
your mouth. Um, but it's one thing I take a lot of pride in myself doing too, right? Because like obviously I have this show, so I have to do a lot of talking. But when I show up, and you can vouch for this as well, like I'll shake everybody's hand, but I sit down and the first thing I do is I just wait. And
Yep.
myself, I might be talking to Aaron, or I might be talking to Eric, or I might be talking to Prince, or I might be talking to Kavad. I'm talking to everybody, but at the same time, like I haven't said really anything. It's always like the hey, what's up? Yeah, it's good to see you again. Blah 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 blah. But and then once I get to meet with the promoter and talk to him, like, hey, what would you like me to do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, we're gonna do this, this, and this. I'm like, all right, bet, cool. Write it out.
And then you do what you got to do, and you go home, and then you wake up the next day. Especially if you're doing like a weekend show, you're wrestling Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You're doing that shit all over again. So yeah, I mean, it just comes down to respect, the business and everything. Just try to learn from everybody else's mistakes. Just be, I guess you can say humble, or you're gonna get humbled one of the way. Um, I've seen that happen so many times. It's just like somebody will do a lockup and they're like, oh, like they're like a badass. Like you don't got to be that way. So when somebody who's like 6 feet, 300 pounds, and they're like, taking advantage of this, and the other guy gets in, he's like, can you just do something? The little guy gets in the ring, takes that big guy down, and starts stretching him. It's like, okay, let's not do what he did. So, like I said, like when it comes to this whole situation, Aaron Connors, who is one of our trainees, like he's a really good prize example of like what you should do in this business when you're working. He's always asking questions. He's always busting his ass. He's doing stuff that I don't have to tell him to do, or no one else to tell him. He's taking it upon himself to do this because he has a really good understanding. RK Sawyer as well. He has a lot of potential. He has a long way to go, but those are probably the two guys in PWX training that I think can really make something out of this. The other ones just got to learn their place, and that's how I feel personally.
Bet. Well, I do my last heavy hitting question is going to be simple. It's just I need one do and one don't of the locker room.
One do is definitely shake everybody's hand when you introduce yourself. If someone's talking, definitely do not interrupt, because if they're going over something and they're like, oh yeah, wrestle you later. Okay, cool. Well, fuck him up. Yeah, definitely shake everybody's hand. Even if me and you are on a show and we have heat with each other, I'm still going to be respectful and professional and shake your hand, whether you do or I don't, whatever the issue. Always do that. I know there's people that have issues with each other at shows. I know I've had issues with people, but I'm still going to shake your hand. How you doing? Stuff like that. Always after the show is over, do exactly the same thing. Tell her goodbye, shake everybody's hand. Like I said, the whole don't thing is don't interrupt somebody who's talking. Wait until you know uh, they're done, so then you can intervene. Definitely don't go off script. Always follow what you're supposed to do on a show, because if you go off script, then you won't be working there anymore, or you're going to get shot on, and that does not look good. Because everybody nowadays have social media. So if this promoter or booker says, "Hey, this guy last night was just a piece of shit," just very unprofessional, so I wouldn't book him. So then that person's like, "Why am I not getting booked?" Well, look what you're doing. You're just being unprofessional. So even if you have heat with somebody in the locker room, just be professional, because that goes a long way. It shows that you're trying to, be the better person, I guess. But yeah, just dudes, be professional. Don't be a dick. So.
I like that. I like that a lot. Well, those are all my heavy hitting questions, but we do got to get into the second best segment of this show. People ask me, what's the first? I tell them it's the Red Dogs Power Rankings that you can find on our debate show every Sunday. But this is the 3 Count Podcast 10 count questions. Mr. Chambers, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. Whatever's your answer, that's your answer.
Oh, shit.
So we're going to put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. The original Part 2.
Yeah. Chops or forearms?
I like my forearms. because everybody just doesn't want to get chopped anymore.
Favorite color?
Favorite color, red.
Sonic or Mario?
Neither.
Ooh, okay. Favorite submission?
Favorite submission, Scorpion Deathlock.
Yes. PlayStation or Xbox?
Xbox.
Favorite podcast?
Favorite podcast. I haven't got a chance to really listen to a lot of podcasts. But when I'm cleaning my house or working out or stuff like that, I listen to Criminally Listed. This is like a crime show, stuff like that and everything. So they're pretty good.
Nice. Nominate one person you want to see on the show.
I'm like one person I wanted to see on this show. Aaron Connors. See how he has react and stuff like that.
He will actually, his episode should be debuting in a couple of weeks from where we do. Full transparency, this is the last day of February. But yeah, in like a couple of weeks.
Aaron Lester.
Let's do.
He likes to talk a lot.
And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word? Fuck.
Right. Great F-bomb is what's needed.
I say that way too much at PWX. I'll sit there and I'm saying, I don't really realize I'm really saying it. And I don't plan on saying it sometimes, but sometimes I just get in the moment and I look over and I can see Lester in the corner going, okay. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love. There's a video on YouTube that's called "The History of the F Word," and I've been trying to get this to go viral again. But it's the greatest 3 minutes and 29 seconds of like all time.
I'll have to look into that one then.
But so the last thing that I have for you is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Social media. I said I got to re-download all these damn apps. It's Twitter and Instagram and what's that new one called? Fucking
TikTok.
TikTok. My daughter is gonna be turning 12, and she's like, "You need to get on TikTok." I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Because it's fun," and I'm on there. I'm like, "Okay, fine." But yeah, if you want to come check me out this Saturday at PWX McKeesport, 2125 Beacon Street. But yeah, that's pretty much it so far. I'm still waiting to come back down to SCWA. I'll have my social media stuff here soon, I guess. Once I get download it, and yeah.
And we'll have it up here too once he starts putting it back out there again.
Yeah. Definitely.
But, well, I mean, it's like every good wrestling match. We got to take it home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering the Ring. And I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller. That's right. The man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. That's right. You should call me your Sherpa. But like every good Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. And you see him right there. Right next to me, it is Mr. O'Reilly Chambers himself. So you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there. Or you just wait for this episode to end. You wait for that outro. And then you choose another episode. Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3count_pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3 Count Pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3 Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh! At prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So, show us some support, please.